Hi, and welcome everyone. Getting everything ready for the Cardinal painting. I'm painting over an old canvas here. Okay. All right. And I'm just going to go over my supplies in a second. All right, so I have my white and black, and then my primary colors, yellow, red, blue, because we mix everything. For brushes for this one, we are doing a large brush that can be, it's soft. It's just like a flat one. You can use a filbert. This is a number 8, or a round one, something like this. I'm going to use this one. And then I have this angled brush. You can just use a flat, square, and then a couple detailed brushes so that you can get more detail on the watering can and the cardinal bird itself. So of course, this is available to watch and pause on replay. Take your time throughout as you wish. And feel free to make adjustments too if you want to change things up a little bit. So I'm going to get started. I have my water cup, a little bit of paper towel, and I'm just going to dip it in the water first. Just dab it a bit dry. We'll start painting. I'm going to start with the top corner. So I made it really light, and then I work my way down a bit to more of the darker greenish teal. I'm taking white, touch of yellow, much more white than yellow. So you can see that it's right here. It's just a very, very light yellow. So we'll start with this, and then we'll switch to some like blues or teals to give it a bit of a greenish color, just very faint towards the top. Small touch of water. Take a chunk of paint. I'm going pretty wide so that it will blend with my blue or green and blend right over top of this into the yellow to go a bit more green. Right to the side. Just getting the sides covered. Okay, so this is a good half of, it's about a half diagonally going across with this really light yellow. Not perfect. I am using a little bit, tiny bit bigger canvas. This one's an 8 by 10. This one's a 10 by 10. So a bit more space. So what I'm going to do from here is in the light yellow, whenever you're ready, we can start mixing a bit more white here. And I'm going to take a couple dots of blue first. I'm going to take maybe a pea size or just a little bit less, not like a crazy amount. Still pretty light. So you can see it's definitely a light, almost minty green or light teal. Starting just below where all my yellow is, so that you're just going to make sure that you like the color. Maybe it's too dark, you can go a bit lighter. And I'm going to lightly dab. I like this texture. I like to do this a lot with my paintings recently, or maybe just in general. I like to just work my way into my light yellow, and you can see that it blends super well. You get less paint. You have less paint on your brush as you work your way. And it comes off really light, just almost very faint, not too aggressive. And the color is a little bit lighter overall because it's not as thick and blobby as you work your way over that side. So you can wipe off a lot of your paint if you find that it's not coming off as much. And then just work your way towards the other side on this corner. So I got my mixture of blues, or actually greens. It's definitely made a lot more green over there into that corner. And it looks very gradual. I'm going to make a little bit more of this color, maybe a bit more blue. So you can, if you want to go more green or if you just want to keep it more teal, I am just making sure that it's not the same color as my watering can. So you can always do a different color for either of these. You can also just take a bit more blue and not go lighter so that it's just getting a bit deeper. I didn't add more yellow yet because I like the teal, how it's not too green. So blue, and if it's too dark, small touch of white, tiny dot of yellow if you want to go a bit more teal or more green. Use a lot of your paint below the color that you're trying to blend into, and then lightly tap, work your way in as far as you want to go. Just kind of pressing with the side of my brush, mostly straight on. I feel like it ruins the brush, but it also gets it even more textured that I don't really like it, or at least I don't want it for this paint. So just again, more on the side of the brush, not too straight on. So all of that color that I had with the green is a bit more blended, and now I can just work my way a little bit more on this corner before I start with the ground. And you can do more green or more teal. You don't have to add white, just something a bit more darker blue or darker green or teal. Even a different color if you want to. Dab, dab, dab. You can always go a little bit lower than you intend. Mine's going lower than what I have here. I'm just getting color filled in so that I can paint over top of what I have already, and I don't need to worry about white gaps or having to fill in more because I missed a spot. Okay, so I have this, I have it pretty filled in at the bottom. Most of my white gaps and my little white dots are filled in. That's good. Tiny touch of water can help with that too. And from here, we're going to go side to side. I just actually started with a scoop of white. I didn't even wash it off. And I went about a fourth of the way up, or less than a third, I would say. Yeah. So this line is going to go like this across. Lighter on this side. You can see it's kind of greenish, a little reflective of the color above it. And then I'm going to switch to brown. So you can wash off your brush if you want to start fresh. I don't mind the color still being on the brush. Gave it a little bit of a cleaning, but not a big deal. You could use the same, like mix on top of the same color. Red, scoop of red. It goes more purple, and then a scoop of yellow. Pretty much goes to brown. You just have to be careful with ratios. Like too much blue will keep it green. Too much red will be purple. You don't want to add more blue because then it will go too much either green or purple. The blue acts like a, kind of like a, if you were to add a touch of black, it acts like a dark color. It mixes more of a brown. If you add a touch of black, it goes even darker. So I'm going to streak that across. Make sure you're okay with the color. Small touch of water. Go across as far over as you want to go. You can even go a little bit lighter, a little bit of white added to the brown. And streak that again, a little bit lighter towards the top. I'm going to let that sit before I do anything else. So if you want to add more color, which I will be doing later, it's hard to do while it's still wet, I can darken up the bottom, especially cast more of a shadow where the watering can is, just kind of behind it. Brightness over here with light yellow or orange, just in front of the watering can. Okay, so washing this off. Anything else you want to add into the background before we move on to the cardinal? You can decide what you want to do. If you like it more textured, more spongy like we did here, or maybe you don't want it, you want it more blended, you can just lightly go over your background a little bit again as a second coat with light teal or light green, mostly white with like a small touch of yellow, small touch of blue, not too much paint. And you can just go over with a little bit of paint to either help blend it a bit more, make it more blue, or maybe just light yellow again. Maybe you want more light yellow in your top corner. It's good to let things dry. Okay, so that was just a little bit of my light blue with a touch of yellow. It's like a very light teal. Good in-between color if needed. I am going to start with my outline of the watering can, then put my bird. Just be mindful that if you make it too big, you're going to have the bird not fit into your canvas. I want my bird to sit about here, and therefore the watering can is going to sit a bit lower. So if you look at the top of it, it's about like the handle itself up at the top, just a little bit more than halfway, so it's still on the bottom half. You can switch to a detail brush, or when it's fully dry, you can switch to a pencil, sketch it out first. Dipping it in the water. You can start with any color that's not too dark so that it's easy to blend into the background or erase. So like a light blue is nice. I'm going to take a little bit of a darker blue because it's easier to see from your perspective. It's just more of a sky blue, pretty obvious. Okay, so like I said, this is about my halfway point. So this is a good position for the bird to sit. So my handle is just a little bit taller than halfway. Right about here is probably good. And it's about the middle. Yeah. Start with a bit of a handle. An arch. You don't need to make it perfect right now. It's just a bit of an arch here for the handle. We're going to adjust it later. Pretty wide too, because then I can make, but it's going to look like it's more in front, like close to us. The bird sitting on it just looks like proportions are pretty good. Okay, from this handle, I am going to make this curved line. So it's almost like a smiley face. You can just go from almost end to end. See how the handle is kind of disappearing behind? So almost end to end, just keep it pretty symmetrical. Just a curved line like this. So from here, Then we're going to put a line coming straight down. And then another one parallel to that, straight down. So at the bottom, curve it. Again, another curved line, so it looks nice and rounded. Okay. So we have that. It's two straight lines, a little bit of a bend and a little bit of a curve here. For the spout that's coming out, of course, we want it close to the bottom. So you don't have to go right to the very bottom, just like a little bit up. You can see there's a little bit of a space here. And we're just going to angle this out. Start with a line like that. And I'm going to go a little bit wider and then narrow towards the end of it. You'll notice that it's actually, you can see it going into the tin can a little bit. So you can just do, for now, you can just do a curved line. So things are making sense to you with the way things are positioned. Okay, and then like a little shower head right on the end. So we have this line just finishing that off, a straight line going across. And a little shower head. So you could do that however you want to. I just sort of fanned it out a little bit. You can also keep a line just for the direction. So when you follow the center line up a bit, it helps keep things pretty symmetrical so it doesn't look like it's angled kind of funny. So that on each side, it's about the same amount going outwards where that shower head on the outside is. Okay, so now I'm going to curve it. So I'm going to meet from end to end, curve it around to make it look more, again, rounded here. And then another curve here. See how it's curved this way and on the other side, so it looks more rounded, but it's not too circular because of the angle. So it's a bit more narrow, kind of like a shape of an eye, almond shape, like that. Touch of water, a bit more paint again. Okay, so now for the other side, we have this line pretty straight here. Other side, the actual handles that we can hold it up on this side. You want to put this in. All I've done is I made it just a little bit more elegant. You can see it's almost like a heart shape, like a half heart shape if you look at it. So I'm going to just go towards the bottom, just kind of flare it up and curve it in, like I said, like a heart shape. Comes up, or like an ear shape. And then I made it a little bit thicker. Okay, and it's just like this. So we're going to make the other side so you can see a little bit of the other side, just almost like an almond shape. We're going to lightly curve, bend that the opposite direction. So This was more like a gentle smile, gentle frown. All right. So this handle, you can see it on this side. We're going to make this more obvious. So thicker, a little bit thinner to the other side. So it's coming in, you can see it wrapping around, just kind of on the side, attached to that side, and then it disappears on the other side on the right. Okay, so we have the structure of that, great. However you want to fill this in, you can do that. If you want to do as much detail as me or you want to go above and beyond, try to keep it kind of like a rusty old can. I like that sort of look, and you can change things up. So you want it more just blue, you want purple, red, anything. Yellow would look great, or orange. I added some browns to look a little bit more dirty and rusty. But let's just let that sit while we start our cardinal washing off the brush again. And I'm still using my smaller brush, not my actual fine detailed one. This one here, I'm just using the slightly bigger detailed brush. I personally like to start with an orange color and then switch to some deeper reds. Red on top of your background might not show very well, and I find that too much red is a little unrealistic too. I'm going to take my red, put it off to the side, scoop of yellow, about equal parts, tiny touch or two of white, so that doesn't go too peachy cream. Still looks a bit orangey in here. Take a touch more yellow, like a reddish orange, can look a bit salmon. Okay, so we have to remember to, unless you want it really attached to the watering can at the top here, I left a little gap, okay? Tiny little gap, nothing too crazy because they don't have super long legs or feet or anything. Starting with the body. So overall, if you've done my bird tutorials before, you probably already know it's going to be like a sideways, almost like a lemon shape, almond shape again. See? Like this. On an angle, kind of like a seed. Okay, and then the head, don't worry about the black or anything just yet. You can start with a bit of a circle. So we can start with a small circle here. That's going to change a little bit though. So you have a small little circle attached. Nothing like ridiculously small, but not too big because their heads are not like bigger than their body. I'm going to make this more, I'm going to flick out and make this more, less indented, more of a smoother transition between the two sections. See how it flows really nice? So at the top of the head, this is kind of going to go like straight up a bit. Like that, pull it back, and then short little lines, following that down on an angle towards the back of the head and into the neck as it flows down into the rest of the body. And you can make the body just a little bit bigger too on the back if necessary. I'm just going to fill this in. It's going to just make it look a little bit more easy to follow probably. Slight little flicks. You can fill this in too. because we're thinking feathers. So little flicks, flicking out and down, or up and out on the head, but mostly just a little bit out and down for the body. All right, taking more paint. You just have to mix a bit more, that's fine. It's okay if it's not always the same color. Different oranges and reds are exactly what we want for the bird. And okay, for the tail, let's just do the wing first. You can see kind of just a little bit sticking out. So about halfway across the body, just gently sticking out a little bit, like there's that wing here. Right now, kind of looks like it's hard to see, on purpose, of course. Just a little bit out and off to the side. And then we're going to go into the tail. So it's at the bottom. This is, you know what, I'm going to take a touch more red and show you the edge of the wing here. There. See, it's just swooping. All right. And on the tail, go towards the back of the body, and just gently, I'm going to go right over the watering can because I'm going to paint over it later. I'm just going to do 2 little lines, and then it's like you have 2 separate almost feathers at the bottom, almost tapered off a little bit. There we go. You can always step back and see if it needs to be a little bit thicker for the size of the bird. Okay, and then at the top, let's do the beak. So halfway up into the face, it takes up a lot of space. It's not really crow-like where it's really long, it's kind of just a little bit wide. There. And then you can make little adjustments. You can even, if you're not sure, make little adjustments later as you keep painting and things might come to light where you're like, okay, I need to make this a little bit bigger. But we have a start. And I'm just washing off the brush. That's where I jump back and start filling in my watering can so that this is drying. Fill this in. Maybe I'll use a flat brush. For the color, I'm going to do the bluish gray. So white, blue, but equal parts. Let's go actually a little bit more white. And then I'm going to take a dot of black, maybe one more dot. Blue-gray. Yeah, there's my blue-gray. Start filling this in. Try not to lose my lines too much. So for example, in this section here, I'm not going to just start painting over this curved line where the spout is. I'm just going to go up and down, keep it pretty simple. If you want to make adjustments, you can. Like in terms of color, especially since I was trying not to do it all the same color. It looks like there's different colors flowing through with the tin metallic sort of look. Up and down. You can keep it streaky like me too. Okay, so I have that. Then as I work my way, like let's do over here. This one's a little bit easier. You can see that I started already putting in a bit of shadows because it just makes it, for me, a little bit better and easier to do. A touch more black and blue, so you can adjust your color as you go. Just change it up as needed. So more black and blue, no more white. It goes darker because I made it darker. I should just follow this up a little bit. Darker, more on the inside curve that's following down just behind the watering can. And then just flowing up. And then it's also a bit darker right here. I'm going to go right over top of the feathers where the tail is. And then with a bit of just white on the brush, make it lighter at the top. Some on the inside, handle in the middle, a little bit lighter. Simple start. Okay, so you can see, bring it a bit closer. A little bit lighter with that white, didn't wash off the brush at the top, and in the middle on the inside of this part. Makes a big difference already. So you can see how the depth is coming and showing through just by doing little things like this. So we can do it once again. The darker color on this side. I'm still using this brush, which is kind of daring. You can use a smaller brush. Darker on the side, on the other side. And then on the bottom, on this side where it disappears. Switch to my small brush. Then you can take white. Didn't wash it off. And more at the top. And a little bit on this side, on the right at the bottom. So the white is basically just a lighter version of this color. If you didn't wash off your brush, it just picks up the color, makes it lighter. So you can keep using this white mixed with your light blue-gray, or if you still have some left on your brush, you can just fill in this top part here. Fill that in and use something similar with the same color once again, following it up more on the left side of the spout. It's coming up here. You can switch to, so I'm just like, I'm pretty, I guess, loosey-goosey with my colors. I'm just mixing whatever as I go, but sticking with the blue theme. You can sometimes just add more pops of blue. You can just take blue and white and not as gray, for example, and just kind of that curve that's following from the bottom up. So you can see that it is got a difference in color, and you can see that sticking out from the can, darkening up this spot. You can also do a darker blue-gray for here. Generally trying to follow some of the lighting rules so that it's not darker, usually on the bottom, or this backside darker, the top a little bit lighter. So I can use my dark blue-gray, or you can just do mostly dark gray because it's maybe you want it really dark right here before it goes up into where all that water is pouring out at the top. Fill that in. If you like this color too, this can help darken. Accent your already spots. A little bit of this and do even darker, just more black right at the bottom here. And a little bit at the bottom towards the top. A little bit there, here, same spots. It makes sense to also darken the very bottom of the can down at the bottom here. Just using the same color to accent the very edge or the top of the watering can before it goes straight down. You can add these little accents. I like the streaky look, so I've been adding these streaks just all over, as you can see. If you want to, I put another line wrapping around, optional. You can do the same sort of thing. So about here, put that in. Gentle curve once again. Another one down at the bottom, kind of like the rim, just right below the spout here, where the shaft's kind of going up. So you're just going to curve that around. You can darken this part just a little bit. If you like the very rustic look, I didn't fully fill things in perfectly. I kept it so that it was blotchy. Okay, so I'll bring it up a bit closer before I keep going and just adding streaks of different color, like maybe accents of blue, brown, lighter, more white highlights. A bit closer. At the top, I just filled in with a light, mostly white, light gray blue or just light blue. Feel free to put this in, streak it in. Streaked it throughout the open area. Lots of streaks. I had some of leftover dark gray, blue gray, and it just showed through here. Just kind of nice. You can add more white highlights just at the top. Maybe I'll add in some hints of darker blue-gray without going too dark. You can just add a touch of white a little bit at a time. Maybe just more on this back side here, where I feel like the light, it's like not really hitting too much light here. Even on this top part. Okay. Okay, so let's leave that for a minute so that you can go back to the Cardinal. I haven't done any outlines, like full outlines yet, or added the brown. Let it dry, see how you feel about it. Just pulling it up a little bit closer. Maybe with my flat brush, I can just deepen up a little bit the streaks coming up on the side here. Keep it nice and dark. Just pretty streaky all throughout. Okay. Back up to the bird. It should be fairly dry. Yep. I'm going to start with some dark gray. Yeah, I'm going to do dark gray, pretty dark gray, because I'm going to start with shaping around where the eye and that black sort of mask going around the face. Don't need to start with straight black just yet, just black and a touch of white. See how it's almost like there's a little bit of a beard just below where the beak is. Like little short, little tiny flicks, just short, little tiny ones. It's going to shape around a little bit of the beak. See how the beak's coming into the face? So we can shape around that. You can even put a delicate, tiny, fine line down the middle of where the beak is. And flicking a little bit up and out into the face, especially where there's a bit of an eye, so it looks like it's a little further out on an angle from the middle of the beak. There we go. You can also, I'm going to add a bit of red to this, like a scoop of red. It's not going to really look red, it's just going to look like a really dark gray with a bit of red into it. A couple little light streaks outlining where that wing is coming out here, and just gently a few of them, kind of sparse at the bottom. See, just outside the wing, so it looks a bit more shadowed. And you can add a couple of these just very gently, maybe wipe off the paint very, very gently throughout some of the wing, create a little bit more depth throughout some of the body, like throughout the feathers, so it looks like it's not just red, it's got undertones of some shadow too. And then a couple of streaks maybe outlining some of these feathers in the tail, through the middle, on the sides. You can even take more red on your brush dark red. So it looks like there's some darkness just outside this dark gray where the mask is. Oops, that was a lot. Right about here. Just a gentle sort of blend, where it looks like a blend. So raise it up just a little bit. Now I'm going to start to go more red. You can take maybe just straight red. You can also take a touch of yellow with it if you think your red's a bit too pinkish looking. So some red, it might be a bit too pink. If it already looks orange, great. Just streaking this in right over top, letting it blend just a tiny bit. This is just red with a bit of yellow, and it just looks very true red, is what I would say, not pink red. Okay, a couple up here. Definitely doing more of the male cardinal, just because, you know, very drawn to, I guess, the bright colors. Okay, streak this in down here. All right. So again, the short little streaks is what helps bring out all that texture. It's nice. Okay, and just going over with my red orange or just red. On the sides, just in case you want to go a little bit bigger. Just a little bit at the top, like little flicks going up and out. In the chest, you can see it's very much highlighted. Also in the beak, I highlighted it too. I'm going to take white and add more yellow into my red orange. So it's just a very light orange with the white added. Definitely more yellow. So you can start mixing your color again with yellow, some white, and then a couple dots of red until you're happy with the light orange that it makes. And you can just add in a couple little feathers here, especially in the front. So this is not super light just yet. I haven't gone to a much brighter color, but you can always think about it before. So maybe you just like it like this. Just little hints of gold and yellow flowing through, picking up through the color. And a little bit into the face. And throughout the wings, so short little lines again through here. Yeah, just a little bit on the very edge of this first feather into the tail. Okay, and then with my fine detailed brush, I'm going to take white, add more white to my light orange. So it's definitely more of a light color, very light orange, more at the top of the beak, or the top half at least. You can use this extra light color to add in a couple streaks into the very front of the chest, just mostly at the top, so it looks like the light's just mostly hitting towards the top of it. Maybe a couple right here on the edge of the wing. And you can use red and a dot of black. So a scoop of red, dot of black, to just go a little bit on the outside, like the bottom of the beak, through the middle, or like just a gentle line going towards the face. You can also use this really dark red, gentle little lines towards the bottom, just little flicks. Again, right here at the bottom of the wing, a couple of streaks. I like to add a couple of these just at the top, like the very tip of the crest up here. So if you want to add an eye, you can use the back handle of one of your small brushes probably. You just flip it on the back. What's really great about this is you can, if you mess it up, you just paint it black again. I'm not taking white. So first I'm going to take white with black, and it's going to be more of a light gray to a medium gray, because then that way it's not just pure white, like scary eyeball that's super white staring at you. I just like to, doesn't, I think, occur to people until they do it. They're like, why is it just so bright? You need to do more of a gray. I'm going to use the back handle, tap it in just very gently on the upper half of the beak, just diagonally upwards, little poke. And then you can take black and shape around it. So I'm just flipping it over, taking black, and just working around a little bit, shrinking it because sometimes it comes off a little bit too thick. Gently shaping around. Okay, just a little bit more. You don't want it too big either. It's not supposed to be very noticeable. And you can put a touch of black into the eye to give it more of a pupil, like a faint little pupil. Anyways, this is just this is just red to shape around, remember, around the outside to give it a bit of a blended look. Picks up some of the black and just goes dark red. Washing it off. And I'm going to just take a tiny little dot of white, give it a little glimmer just in the eyeball itself. It's almost like a reflective dot in the eye. It's supposed to be. Okay. So little touch-ups before we finish up with the watering can. And more shadow details at the bottom. Put the feet on this very shortly. Okay, at the bottom, let's switch to a darker brown. And I'm going to take equal parts red, yellow, and then less of black. A couple of little dips of black. Just going to streak, make sure it's darker or dark enough. Streak around the bottom. Just pull it out so that it's looks like it's more of a flat ground if you want that look. It's darker just behind and below. More of a shadow. Put a little bit down here. Maybe just a little bit of black at the very, very bottom for more of an absolute shadow. And you can even touch up on black, like right at the edge before it goes into the handle. It's definitely along the bottom. Or just along some of the edges, like all these points of where like the handle ends, more of a sharper outline. This is just black. You can also just do dark blue-gray or darker version with black added to your watering can color, just to give it gentle outlines of where things are. Not too cartoonish, like not all the way around. But the bottom of this part here, following that up. I'm going to add, they're like little sesame seeds, little kind of dots, little lines, just, this is black at the top, so it looks like the water can pour out. Just a gentle sort of outline, just where the darkness is on the edge of this handle at the top. mostly along the bottom. A couple little short black lines touching up on the bird. I'm going to add in some brown now. So we have that brown from here. You can use any brown if you want to use just a lighter version. You add white or maybe more yellow and white, so it goes golden yellowy brown. Or more red and yellow, so it's more orange brown, just like a burnt orange instead. I didn't add any more black, so it goes a bit more warmer in color, more orangey, less grayish brown if it was looking gray brown. So wiping off the paint so that it's just more of a gentle, like as I streak it up, it's just gently touching, very streaky. And this is where I'm going over just any spots I want to look a bit more rusted, which is pretty much all over the place. Maybe on the shaft part of where the spout's coming up here. A couple little dots up here. A little bit in the handle. You can do darker brown for the shadowy parts towards the back. You can add a touch of black if you want it darker looking. So again, wipe off the paint so it doesn't come off too strong. It's just gently there. Very brassy. You can even add a little bit of this into your background on the ground, sure. Okay, so this is just white, putting in a couple streaks where I feel like more of the light's hitting it. Some white up here too, little dots. The black's no longer too obvious. Looks like there's a bit more of a, just more light hitting certain parts of the metal can. Picking up on some of that reflective look. Okay, this one I went darker than this one, but I kind of like how it's lighter overall. Just more of a preference or whatever you feel like doing. Go back to my dark blue-gray a bit. A little bit of darkness as it starts to curl up in the middle. Felt like it should have a little bit there. And the middle right around here, just underneath on the bottom. All right. So on the other side, if you want to add a little bit of brightness, using my flat brush again, that can be either very light brown or light golden yellow, which is just yellow, white, and a dot of red, mostly yellow. It goes more light yellowy gold. If it touches brown, I'm okay with that. I like the different colors showing through. I try not to make things too perfect with color. I like just letting it be. There's some brightness coming through on the bottom here. Okay, cool. So let's just add the little legs, and that should be it. I'm taking my super fine detailed brush, just doing any touch-ups on the eye. Sometimes it's hard to stop playing with that thing because, yeah, it's very finicky. If you put a weird streak, it starts looking like you did something funny with the eye. Okay. Yeah, little touch-ups actually, so that there's some outline on the edge of the tin can, just on the dark side. And a little bit of a white highlight following it up. Makes it a bit more noticeable. Okay, legs. Taking black. Let's start with the one on the very right. So it's not too far to the side. You can see the back is just a little bit right off to the side here, and then it kind of comes out a little bit out from where the tail is. Not too far back. So we are starting with this one here. So that's the left one. Line coming straight down, and then I'm just wrapping it once, twice. So it looks like it's wrapping its little claws around it. Very thin right now because I'm going to add brown as a highlight. Let's do the other side. So just a little bit of a gap. Wrapping it. 2. A little bit thicker. And then take a bit of brown. It can be similar to the browns that you had before. Or you can actually take a lighter brown so that it's more obvious against the black. It looks like it has a bit more of a highlight. So towards the light on the right sides, just adding a bit of brown there. Just above the black, on the right side of the black, a little bit covering the black too. Feel free to put a little bit of black back in as needed. Now bring it up a bit closer. These little feet. Just helps with the depth of that. Instead of just one tone, one color, you have highlight and shadow. That's all you really need to do to keep it more simple. I'm going to use this light brown to give a couple bits of accent of color to bring it out into the watering can. maybe you want more brown into it. Or just even on the edge up here. Wrap it around the edge. You can sign your painting when you feel like you're done. This is just white. I highly recommend taking a step back, seeing how it's looking before adding more things to it. Okay. You can always touch up on the little holes that are supposed to be poking through. And show your results on our Facebook page. So you go to Facebook, shows what your interpretation is, what you added, what you decided to do instead of, or maybe you wanted to do exactly how I did it. We have lots of paintings coming up, so maybe you'll join me for another one. And we have some previous ones too. Lots and lots of them. Okay. Thanks for joining. I'm going to call it done. I'm going to leave it alone. Hopefully see you next time. Thanks, guys. Bye.